guys, welcome with a new video. And today we're gonna be talking about workout splits for busy natural lifters. So, why is this video for busy natural lifters? It is um, that I'm tired of the fitness industry having a very gym cell centric approach, in the sense that your gym is the most important thing in your life. But here's a fact about life: most people have jobs, some of us have other hobbies, or some of us are new parents or want to have a social life. And I think there's not enough content creators who provide good alternatives for this. They often go to push pull leg splits and bro splits, which in my opinion have people too many days into the gym. So let's start with it. First of all, we have the upper, lower plus full body 3 times a week. The thing that I really like about this split is that, first of all, you get your 2 times a week frequency because you train every muscle group on the full body day. And after that, you train your upper body muscles, so everything above your legs and your abs on the upper day, and your abs and your legs and maybe some back work you do on the lower day. I also find that it is very flexible because of its hybrid nature. You can, for an example, put the full body day on a Tuesday, on a Thursday, any day of the week except of course Friday and Monday. Or you can play with the upper days. I think this is really good because people with a very awkward planning, for an example, people who have to work, really hard in the week and have maybe like one day where they can go to the gym for like 1 hour and 1 hour and a half, but they have the weekends off. Also, what I really like about this hybrid split is the fact that you get both the upper, lower, and full body experience. And this is because, training a full body split is a whole different level compared to training as an upper day or a lower day, because when you do a full body, you're going to be training heavy lower body lifts plus even some heavier like upper body lifts. So you can have a day where you have a squatting movement, a hip hinge, a horizontal push, let's just say a vertical pull. That's a lot of hard exercises, and some people need to be adapted for that, and that's why I really like it. Also, you get the experience of a dedicated upper day and a dedicated lower day. However, the first con is also in this hybrid nature. Some people don't like to train full body. There are even some people who want to train full body, although I find that more rare because full body training is really hard because of a lot of heavier movements on one day. Of course, there are ways to play with this, but in general, a full body day is still going to be exhausting. Also, I do think that there is still a superior 3 day a week option that have the days off in the weekend, which a lot of normies will like. I do think that Uncommon Sense has a very good program. It's the Solar Apprentice that is a follow this template. But also Jeff Nippert has paid programs that have this template and they're considered to be good. Then we have full body twice a week. And the first, pro of it is the fact that you get your 2 times a week frequency. I find that this split is the best for people who have a very busy life. So you have, people with a very high position in a company who have to work a lot of hours, young parents who have children, or even blue collar work folks who have to work the 10-12 hour shifts. Also, what I really like about it is the fact that full body twice a week will have you will never have junk volume on it, because you have only 2 days a week to train. You have to cramp in as much volume, all the volume in 2 days. You're not gonna do 20 sets per body part for that. You will most likely be in the 4 to 8 range because of that. And I do think that you know training a few only like 2 days will really eliminate junk volume. Also, because the days are you have 5 rest days and the days are really spread out, it is easy to recover from. However, there is also a con about this, which is first of all, you're pretty much bound to lower volume. Like, you can't be doing 10 sets of a body part on one full body day, otherwise, you're going to be there for 4 or 5 hours. You're mostly bound to, 4 to 8 sets, which for some people, it's not going to be enough, especially in the later stages of their lifting career. Also, I do think that, 3 day full body is still a better option because most people will still be able to, lift 3 days a week. And this allows for, more volume, more frequency. And so we can spread out, the exercises more, the intensity can be adjusted accordingly, which is really nice. And of course, it can be frustrating for people who like to lift. I am in this category. I also do this split. And I really like to lift, but right now I can't be training more days because I have a busy life, I have other hobbies. But sometimes it can be a bit frustrating because I want to lift some more, but it is not really possible at this moment in my life. Probably the best source for this, who provides the best programs for this split is Alex Leonidas. And that's absolute, encyclopedia when it comes to lifting. I really recommend his content. He's probably one of the best content creators when it comes to the gym. Then we have your regular ass upper lower. And what I really like is, two times a week frequency. You have a, dedicated upper day and a leg day. This also allows for, higher volume. So let's just say you can go into the 8 to 12, maybe 16 sets a week, which, is better for most people because moderate volume is what works for most people. It's also really great for people who like to lift because you're going to be the majority of the week in the gym. However, there's still a few problems with this split, which is first of all the fact that if you cramp in all your upper body work on your upper day, it is going to be a really crowded day. You have to train your shoulders, let's just say 2 exercises, your chest, 2 exercises, then you have to train your back, also 2 exercises, and then your arms. But of course, we have the other upper body muscles. Let's just say we add in neck and forearms. You're going to have 10 exercises on the upper day. While, let's just say we have, a lower day, we do 2 exercises for the quads, 2 for the hammies, maybe 1 for the calves, and 1 for the, abs. Your upper day is way more crowded. It has way more exercises than your lower day. And this can be, a problem for your upper body muscles because the later an exercise is in the workout, the less effort you're going to be putting in. And because we like, upper body focus as men, I think that's somewhat of a problem. But that's just a minor problem because it is fixable, which you're going to see in the next split. Also, for some people, it might just be too many days, especially people with, a very physical job or, a very busy life. It might be too many days in the gym. This is the first stage where I would say it becomes, somewhat implausible for some people to follow this split, at least consistently. That's just my opinion. We have 2 great, providers of programs. We have ball dominant and natural hypertrophy. They provide great upper lower splits. You have a free one on Boostcamp, and I am not sponsored by them because I'm way too fucking small for that. Then we have the upper posterior, and this is pretty much, the upper lower, but, the cooler, upper lower, because it takes the problem of, the back muscle of the upper lower, which is a very crowded upper day, and it's gonna put, the back work on the posterior day. So your upper day is pretty much gonna be a push day plus biceps, while your posterior day is gonna be back and legs. And this is very fucking great because you're gonna have somewhat equal, amount of exercises, workload on both, days, somewhat between like 6 to 8 exercises. Still, it has the same, cons compared to a upper lower, because it might be too many days for the busy people, and because you're gonna be doing, heavy back exercises, heavy hammy exercises, and quad exercises, your posterior day is going to be somewhat fatiguing. You're going to have need some workload to finish a posterior day. I still think it's very much possible for most people. Just a tiny con about the split. Pretty much, the greatest provider of this split is, Massive Iron of Steve Shaw. He has pretty much, invented these splits. From what I know, I could be wrong. An absolute great source, has been lifting for decades. An absolute recommended channel if you want to grow. And then we have the best split, in my opinion, or at least for busy naturals, which is full body three times a week. The first pro is the 3 times a week frequency. We see that, the more frequent you can train, with its upper limit being 3, maybe 4, the more the muscle is going to grow, and the more you will be able to get good in, certain movements. Very simple concept. If you train a bench press 3 times a week, you're going to be better at it. Also, what I really like about it is the fact that, we have the weekends off, and I think this is somewhat important for, a lot of newer lifters, or, people who have a busy life, because in those days, they want to go out, have, their fun time with friends and family, or, just rest a little bit. Like I mentioned, because you have this 3 times a week frequency, it is very easy to progress on certain movements. Let's just say the squat and the bench, if you're, more of a strength enthusiast, or, even, being able to add on, more pounds on your bench, because, you're going to be training a chest movement 3 times a week. Also, what I do really like about it is that it still allows for, medium volume, with this 8 to 12 range. It is absolutely great because most people, need moderation. Generally, the extremes of, very low volume, like Mike Mentzer maxing, and, very high volume, Arnold maxing. For most people, it's just not the best idea. The only con I would say is, training full body is, it's gonna be very long and hard sessions, because you're gonna be training lower body movements, you're gonna be training upper body movements, especially the compounds. They can be really hard, on this on your body. You're gonna be shit tired, after a workout, but I like it. It feels great. Steve Reeves, for an example, he used, this split, and let us not forget, this is probably one of the most legendary bodybuilders in, pretty much bodybuilding history. If he does it, we can be pretty damn sure that it is good.